Hi, everyone. So, this week I decided to focus on diversity in higher education, and I'll be examining the speech of Lee C. Bollinger, who is one of the former presidents of the University of Michigan. So, what's the problem? All the articles that I read this week spoke about diversity in a way that it's very problematic. The articles stated that there was either too much diversity in particular universities or there wasn't enough diversity in particular universities. Christine Clark is actually one of the authors that I read, and in her journal, she spoke about the role that diversity played in higher education. She asked questions such as what is diversity? What role does it play? And how important is the role of diversity in higher education? As you can see by the definition on the screen, Clark speaks about diversity in more of a verb. It's an act or something that the school must do, more of an obligation. But I feel as though we're in the 21st century and diversity or integration should be second nature at this point. It shouldn't be something that the school feels as if they need to do. It should just kind of be done. I don't think that colleges should have to go out of their way to make their school diverse. And this actually leads me to my next point. The article that I'm focusing on by Lee Bollinger talks about the fact that there is a very high need for diversity in all of higher education. And there are different types of diversity, such as racial and cultural. There is sexual orientations that are diverse. There are religious diversities, and all of these should be embraced at the collegiate level. But the question I had to ask myself was how do colleges go about embracing diversity? So the article focused on the case of Grants and Grutter versus the University of Michigan. And basically, this case was aimed at the University of Michigan's medical school and law school. The plaintiffs believed that they did not receive admissions to the school simply because they were white, and they feel as if the University of Michigan shouldn't use affirmative action, which came about around the 1960s. Basically, you give somebody an opportunity simply because their race or their sexual orientation group or their religious group were treated badly in the past. The plaintiffs also believed that the University of Michigan should practice colorblind admissions, which means they don't take race into consideration. And the plaintiffs also believed that the school shouldn't use socioeconomic factors in the admissions process. So, rules and regulations. What does the Constitution say? The Constitution says absolutely nothing about the fact that public universities have to use a colorblind admissions process. Therefore, the University of Michigan has every right to take race and ethnicity into consideration when they're accepting their students. However, there are certain rules. There can't be a racial quota, which means the school can't have a goal to accept 24 African Americans or 15 Latinos or 35 Asians. That isn't allowed. There can't be a two-track admissions process, which means there can't be two different processes for two different races. Every student, regardless of race, must go through the same exact admissions process, and there can't be great emphasis placed on race. So, as I stated before, when thinking of diversity, we always think about race, but there's actually different types of diversity. So, this rule basically means that even though there are demographics to fulfill in colleges and universities, race cannot be the most important one. Where does the University of Michigan stand? The University of Michigan feels as though affirmative action is necessary, especially because it's one of the easiest ways to integrate and to up the level of diversity at a school. Bollinger actually talks about the fact that there should be great emphasis placed on the knowledge of there not being any reasonable or mathematical way for the number of minority students that apply to the school to trump the number of white students that apply to the school, simply because the number of minority students that apply is extremely small compared to the number of white students. And I feel like that was a fear that was presented in this court case, but it was essentially dismissed because the numbers just didn't add up. Also, they feel as if a colorblind admissions process would be ineffective, especially because, as I said, the probability of being admitted for a white student is higher than being admitted for a minority, simply because of the number of white students that apply. Also, as I've said several times, diversity is extremely vital, and Bollinger feels as though every college's mission statement basically comes down to the fact that they want their students to be able to be successful in the real world, successful professionals, successful people, and the world is an eclectic, diverse place. And that's why if you provide students with the opportunity to develop and work in a diverse community for 2 to 4 years, they get to grow with these people and learn about different cultures and different ethnicities and different religions. That way, when they graduate and go into the real world, there won't be such a culture shock, and that particular student will be able to excel in their particular profession or where they decide to live or how they decide to live their life. And as I've just added to the screen, this is just a quote reiterating what I've said. Bollinger feels as if it's a good experience to know how different cultures and different people work, because you are who you are because of the life you've lived. Your life is a direct reflection of your point of view and your opinions and where you stand on things. And it's all about perspective. So, how do I feel about affirmative action? I personally don't think that it is necessary. I'm all about equal opportunity, and I think that nobody should be admitted or given any opportunities simply because of the way their particular group was treated in the past. For example, I applied to Northeastern because I knew that intellectually I could compete with the other thousands of applicants. I wasn't admitted because I was black and slavery happened. So I don't really think that affirmative action is necessary. Do I think that all colleges should take Michigan's route in their admissions process? Yeah, I think that diversity is important, and I would love it if more countries, I mean, not more countries, I'm sorry, more colleges across the country could see diversity as an important aspect, especially because it's such a real part of everyday life. And as it pertains to the colorblind admissions process, is it useful and or effective? I'm not sure. This is something that I actually would love to do more research on, um, before I can really form my position or my opinion on this particular topic. So maybe the colorblind admissions process is something that I'll focus on in later um, later presentations. But this article was actually very interesting. It's short, it was like 4 pages, 4 to 5 pages. So you guys should definitely read it, get more information about it. Um, Let me know what you think. All right, bye.